I am Jordan. I was simply a regular guy in his 30s living in the city and working a 9 to 5 job. I work now at a factory in a remote part of rural Nebraska, far enough away that buses are rarely seen. Why am I using the past tense when I speak? Well, I was on the fast track to success and was working hard at a renowned office building in New York City until last month. Everyone thought I was going to be successful, and I was certain that I would hold an executive role eventually. But I had a competitor. Mike was his name, and we were always fighting for the highest paying position. Mike didn't view it the way I did, but I thought we could develop a good friendship based on a friendly rivalry. I was just something that he needed to get in the way of. He thus set me up. When it turned out to be a misunderstanding, he blamed me for a major error. I had betrayed the confidence I had once won. People started pulling away from me gradually, and the boss only gave Mike preference. I was sent to this remote Nebraskan facility before I knew it. Even though I have a decent job as manufacturing manager on paper, I'm still being demoted. To be honest, I was shocked. Transferred factory managers from the headquarters only bring a poor reputation with them. I am also unable to perform my job effectively because I lack factory work experience. I was branded as a troublesome supervisor who was moved due to problems at the corporate headquarters. I went home to my dwelling furnished by the firm with a troubled heart. Being a factory manager and living in corporate housing allows me to save more money, so the compensation isn't too awful, but I no longer feel fulfilled. Every day, I simply submit to the seasoned manufacturing workers and attempt to complete things on my own that I have never done before. To be honest, I've considered giving up, but doing so would indicate that Mike had defeated me. I'm holding to this job because I detest the thought in the worst way. Yet, I must have been quite exhausted since I discovered my front door was unlocked. Oh no, I should have locked it. Even if there is nothing of value for me to steal, I was nonetheless irresponsible. When I went inside, I should have been more cautious, but what I saw was unbelievable. A genuine surprise. And see, there were women's shoes just lying around carelessly. Not only that, but some women's clothing were haphazardly tossed over the washing machine that is located directly next to the entryway. She appeared to be about to insert them into the machine before being sidetracked. Stockings were arranged in the hallway, halfway between and past the washing machine, almost like signposts. As soon as I saw the women's clothing, I quickly looked up my apartment number. Did I book the incorrect room? But no, this is apartment 35, which is the one I rent. What on earth is happening? I entered confused and then let out a startled "whoa." A woman lay down in the bathroom area. I was unable to comprehend what was going on. I double-checked the unit number and saw nothing odd. I live in this apartment. Was the woman unconscious too? No, she appeared to be dozing off. In any case, why was a woman sleeping here? I can't just let someone tell a lie in this place, or I could be charged with anything. Though at first I was thinking, wait, what? That's when it dawned on me that her face was really pale. She appears to be in discomfort and is breathing heavily. When the writhing woman did not show signs of moving, I stepped closer to her with caution. It appears that she is in her early 20s. She looked familiar, so perhaps we work at the same factory. If you look closely, her face is pale, yet she seems like she's on fire. It's so hot that I touch her cheek. She appears to be rather ill and most likely has a fever. She most likely attempted to change, but passed out in the middle because fevers often make people feel disoriented. I've been there before. All of your energy is directed into resting when you have a fever. I recall merely washing my hands when I got home and then passing out on my bed. I gave her a gentle shake of my shoulder after covering her with my jacket. Hey, are you okay? I was fairly calm, considering the commotion of earlier. I think she looks very young now. I knew she was in her 20s because our plant doesn't employ teenagers, yet she looks so young that one could easily mistake her for a college student. I was more worried about her safety than anything else when I saw her like that, especially because she was unable to even realize that she was in the incorrect room. She had to be quite sick. I would have immediately phoned for an ambulance if she had been dressed. Huh. She eventually woke up after I called out to her multiple times. Our gazes locked, and she gave me a confused look. Why is the manager of the factory here? I'm in this room. Like thus, it feels a little strange to me. She began to slowly realize what was going on when I pointed it out. Oh my God, it's not her fault. I apologize for causing you inconvenience. How are you doing? I queried the woman, who was now identified as Mary, worriedly. You seem to have a fever. She gave the room number as 205. Probably from taking the wrong floor in the elevator, she entered my room, which I had neglected to lock because she was feeling lightheaded from the fever. Everyone in the apartment complex has the same layout, and Mary and I hardly ever leave anything in the corridor. Mary, exhausted, dozed off for a little while without noting the room's transformation. Mary appears to have entered my room 10 minutes or so before I returned. I had assumed she had fainted, but it turned out she was only having a nap. I really apologize. I'm shocked by myself. Should I call an ambulance? You appear to be really lost. No, not at all. I want to stop being a nuisance. Since it's only a cold, summoning an ambulance seems excessive. She made an attempt to stand, but her balance was shaky. Are you the only resident of the apartment building? In this state, I can't send you home alone at night. You don't have to if you don't want to, but maybe you should rest a bit. Even Mary sensed the danger, given her fragile state. She chose my room as a place to rest. It makes sense that waking up in someone else's room would be unsettling. My only intention is to assist her in de-stressing. I positioned my phone directly in front of her. I didn't snap any pictures or anything similar. You can look through the stored pictures if you're concerned. That seems much more suspicious. It's okay. I checked her temperature with a thermometer while awkwardly laughing. The temperature was 102 degrees Fahrenheit. A high fever is that. Maybe she should get some rest as soon as possible. She started to feel less dizzy and lucid, so I made the decision to take her home. But it's only one floor down, I added. Many thanks for it, she added. I'll come by to properly thank you another day, with grace before making her way back to her room. She appeared youthful to me. Well, anyone in their 20s would appear youthful to someone like me who is in their late 30s. I was concerned that she could be pushing herself too hard because it seemed like she was putting on a brave face. I had a really strong impression of her after that happened. Mary stopped by my flat a week later on my day off. As a gift, she brought a package of cookies. She said, I wanted to apologize for the trouble. Don't worry. There was an emergency. Do you feel better already? Yes, I appreciate that. It turned out to be a simple cold. She said, please take care of yourself too, and walked out. She was still healing from her illness, so it wasn't really suitable to encourage her to remain and talk. But things started to improve in my very bleak life after that. Mary always gave me a huge smile and a cheery greeting when she saw me at the factory. Hello, Jordan. How are you feeling right now? She said that I always seemed so busy and stressed out, so she had always been a little reluctant to talk to me. But it felt like she began to have more faith in me now. The rest of the staff started treating me differently because of Mary's approach. Particularly the more seasoned employees, they completely changed how they felt about me. There were not many people employed in this factory, which was a bit like a tiny industry in a rural location. The workers were almost like family as a result of this. I used to feel like there was an invisible wall separating me from the others, but then they started giving me coffee and the unfounded gossip about me ceased. We even started having light conversations, which shocked me because, to be honest, I wasn't doing that well at work. I chose to inquire about it with Joe, a seasoned employee. You did assist Mary, correct? However, Mary informed us that you are not who the rumors have you out to be. As the youngest employee at the factory, Mary was well liked by all, according to Joe. That explains why her remarks affected him so much. I apologize for earlier. Some guy from headquarters spread all these horrible rumors about you before you were posted here. We were suspicious of you because we believed there had to be some truth to them. It stunned me. It turns out that Mike, the guy who set me up, has been spreading stories even here. Although Joe wasn't familiar with Mike's name, he could tell by the description that it was him. With a sigh, I told Joe my side of the tale, detailing how Mike's tactics forced me off of my intended career path and into this situation. I was speaking when all of a sudden I heard someone speaking behind me. How come? That is really awful. I turned back and saw Mary with oil stains on her clothes. It seems that she had heard what we were saying. Jordan, you ought to get even with that guy. It's impossible, but you're surprisingly fierce, haha. I'm merely a factory manager these days. Nobody pays attention to me. Jordan is really slow to pick things up, isn't he? Made fun of Joe. I could not think of anything to say. The employees are aware that I lack the necessary training. It's true that even though I've been gradually picking up the nuances of my job, I've still been letting the team down. I could therefore talk to someone higher up, and they would listen. Well, maybe, I remarked, teasingly. That someone in a position of authority would step in to help me is unimaginable. That's what I thought, anyhow. To my surprise, nevertheless, my prank came true. A few weeks after our chat, the company's CEO came up at the facility out of the blue. The CEO visiting a location this remote is extremely unusual. It usually only goes as high as the department head. That's why I was genuinely shocked. Was I really that bad of a screw to bring the CEO down here? I was completely devastated. But the moment the CEO got there, he apologized to Jordan. You've received unfair treatment. He turned to face me. How come? I was astonished as well, I remarked. I paid attention to the CEO's remarks. It seems that someone had reported Mike's misconduct to him. After looking into it, I discovered that Mike had been stealing credit from other workers and purposefully undermining my performance reviews. Although I always believed Mike to be capable, it now appears that he was simply pilfering the successes of others. Mike isn't allowed to work right now. We want to address your situation before we take any disciplinary action. Ideally, I would like to get you back to headquarters right away. I asked the CEO to hold on a moment since I feared he was going to try to move me back. I would like to stay here, sir. What? I'm only now beginning to learn the ropes and gain some traction here. Even Joe has told me that I've finally passed, so I guess I'm not perfect yet. All I had on my mind back at the corporate headquarters was moving up the corporate ladder. I used to believe that moving forward was the only way to demonstrate that one was appreciated, but there are other factors as well, such as the value of forming connections and receiving genuine recognition from coworkers. If I hadn't realized that I'd grown to like everyone at this remote factory and the surroundings, I doubt I would have had these kinds of emotions back at headquarters. I therefore wasn't prepared to go just yet. In addition, the head office no longer seemed all that tempting, especially in light of the fact that they were blind to Mike's duplicity. I'd wanted to live here, not hustle in the high-turnover environment of the head office. That is how I truly feel right now. Here, I'll give it my all. After I made my wish known to the CEO, the transfer was no longer on the table. Keep up the good work, the CEO said as he left, but a question began to bother me. Mike's actions are forgivable, but to whom was he reported? Someone harboring ill will. Someone tapped on my shoulder as I was lost in thinking. Mary was the one. Hello, and how are you, Jordan? All right, many thanks. What was the outcome? Has Mike, the person who set you up, received any justice? I was surprised when Mary asked me that. I questioned how she found out about that. I must have shown my surprise on my face. Mary chuckled. I told my dad that a bad employee at the headquarters moved you here. Your father. Yes, the CEO who was here earlier is my dad. What? I was so taken aback that I had to shout. When Mary saw my response, she burst into laughter. Oh my goodness, you were unaware of the CEO's daughter. Which implies that, well, you aren't. However, you ought to be employed at the main office. What brings you to this factory? I was completely perplexed. Mary went on to explain the circumstances. She detests computers in particular and is not excellent at administrative work. She was going to work at the factory of another company, which was unusual for a woman, and she loved fiddling with machines. Her father, the CEO, was adamantly against it, claiming that factories may be hazardous places with a high rate of accidents. Join our factory if you want to work with machines, he urged. That's how she got hired to work at this plant owned by the CEO's pal. Joe, that pal, is the one who always makes fun of me. It makes sense why she calls him so close, I reasoned. My father probably expected me to move out of this isolated area soon, but I settled in right away because I've always wanted to live in the country. You were kind to me when I had a fever and made adjustments so I wouldn't overexert myself, she said, laughing. You think about other employees' welfare as well, not just mine. Everyone claims it's easy to work here now because of you. I have conflicting feelings about this. Factories are prone to accidents and injuries. In the event of an incident, the workers' compensation processes are complex. This is another reason that worried me about it. Although it may seem a little self-serving, if it makes things simpler for the employees, then fine. I discussed you with my dad for that reason. It was my way of saying thank you for his assistance during my fever. All I could do was shrug her words off. It's a pretty heavy method of saying thank you, but if that's how she feels, then that makes me happy. I told the CEO that I wanted to work here, even though I'm a little afraid that she might find out about any future problems. Results that are mediocre will not do. I'll put in even more effort because of the people that supported me. 5 years have gone by since that decision. I'm a 40-year-old middle-aged factory manager now. In these 5 years, the dilapidated plant underwent a number of modifications, and it now employs more people in a cleaner atmosphere. Costs increased, but output doubled. The plant turnaround was successful. Thank goodness. It wasn't just my work. I also appreciate Joe's and Mary's encouragement. Everybody works extremely hard when Mary says, "Let's do our best," because this plant is full of Mary's supporters. That is, myself included. She's still a little awkward after 5 years, falling frequently and smearing oil on her face. However, her optimism has been quite beneficial, and I value her as a person. To put it plainly, I've come to like her. Who could blame me, really? She has a wonderful smile, and in those moments, I have seen her underpants. What shade is it right now? Any man would be curious. She's on my mind all the time. I'm such a sap, man. Not even once have I succeeded in asking her out on a date. But I'm not the same person today. After 5 years of feeling this way, I finally gathered up the nerve to ask her out to dinner today. Is this a date, though? Isn't that a date? At last, my point became clear, and not only did she get it, the entire workplace did as well. Is my transparency really that high? Well, it's evident if you continue to stare at her in that manner. I felt really ashamed. Without even waiting for our date, I told her the truth since I felt that there was nothing more awkward than this. I enjoy you. Are you going to be my girlfriend? She grinned and answered, yes, in response to what I said. It has always stuck in my memory how you protected me in your apartment when I was weak. Rather, you showed genuine concern. All right, seize the chance. Would most people consider that to be unsafe then? I was quite fortunate. Although I agree with her, it was disconcerting to hear it said aloud. That youthfulness can be blinding, but that's probably just my immaturity speaking. I've always believed that I had to be by her side to keep her safe. We dated and eventually got married after having that thought. Since our workplace was close-knit, everyone was happy to congratulate us. Mary is 28 years old and pregnant right now. I didn't like moving to Nebraska at first, but after a while, I can see it's not that horrible. I definitely owe Mary's optimistic attitude everything. Now that we're out of the rush of New York, we can spend more time together. Our family is expanding because we will be welcoming a new member next month. As I leave for work today, I'm looking forward to that. I really hope you liked this short story. We are really inspired to produce more stuff when you subscribe to our channel. Until the next video, see ya.